Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and Dave Hero here with you live. Monday night, August 10th, 2009. Boys, coming off the heels of that interview with Ken Anderson, formerly Mr. Kennedy of WWE last week here on the Pro Wrestling Report. This week, we bring you Kevin Nash, coming up at the top of the hour. Top of the program.
Wait a minute. Last week's interview was pretty controversial.
It sure was.
That's a bit of an understatement.
I mean,
there have been a lot of people with a lot of comments about that interview.
And there's been a lot of talk.
And there's been a lot of people in Titan Towers that heard our interview as well, too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, they tune in.
Oh, they tuned in.
Well, and again, it's, if Cena doesn't listen, if Trips doesn't listen, if Orton doesn't listen, they have people that listen, and they heard it.
One of those guys you mentioned listened.
I wonder.
That's all we're going to say about that. That's all we're going to say about that. But indeed, if you have not yet checked that out, the Ken Anderson interview is available on iTunes and on the website, PWRShow.com.
Let me throw this out there. That one that listened, we won't mention the name. But if he wants on, he can come and explain himself.
Well, of course he could. But that'd be silly.
We are also live at PWRShow.com, where the chatmosphere is going. Meathead's watching that, and the PWR forum is available.
I'm watching the chat.
Well.
Are you feeling better today, Meathead?
I'm about 97%. Ow, 96.
Is that
Want to make sure you're comfortable.
What was the Randy Orton news updates? What was the news network?
Hey, I didn't say you was
Randy
listening.
News Network.
What's that?
No, we're talking.
Okay.
What are you feeling a little paranoid over there? Let's say hi to Randy Orton. Listening to the show, everybody. Yes,
Hi.
that's when you say hi.
Hi, Randy.
Anyways, folks, in addition to Kevin Nash coming up at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, we're going to talk about the WWE's recent business results. We've got a detailed analysis on the television ratings. Each program compared to itself from January of 2009 to July of 2009, and you will be amazed at some of the statistics we have to share with you as it pertains to that.
Hey, Damien, are we going to ask Nash about the love triangle?
We are going to ask Kevin Nash about the situation between Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, and Karen Angle.
You know what that makes me feel? Love, exciting, and
if you think about it, Jeff Jarrett's the guy that hired Kevin Nash.
Yes.
And Kurt Angle's the guy that's a partner with Kevin Nash.
Yes.
You think he'd know what's going on, right?
Possibly.
We got to ask Big Sexy.
Kevin Nash coming up.
Whatever, dude. She gets around.
It depends on how many glasses of wine into the interview we get to that.
Oh,
Kevin Nash coming up at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, right here on the Pro
Kev's
Wrestling
a good
Report
guy.
on
There's
540
nothing wrong with wine.
ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Also, we've got a preview of TNA's Hard Justice this Sunday on pay-per-view, along with a conversation about who the new breed is in professional wrestling. Basically, our prediction as to who the 2010 superstars will be.
Damien, you consider yourself educated, right?
Yes.
There's no such thing as 2010. 2010. 2010.
Moving right along, we also have in-depth tonight. We're going to go in-depth on Jack Swagger. The VI3 Beat the Meat, and This Week in History in a stacked Pro Wrestling Report tonight. You can join us on the phone lines, ladies and gentlemen. The number is 276-ESPN, and that's 276-ESPN, or all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN, 1-800-990-ESPN. Guys, let's talk about WWE Raw tonight.
Wait. You forgot to address something that happened this weekend.
What happened this weekend?
There's a new GLCW champion.
Oh, yeah. Who's that, Damien?
X-Pac is the new GLCW champion. That's coming off the heels of GLCW Slam Fest this Saturday.
Right now.
Sean Six-Pac Waltman.
Thank you.
Last Saturday here in Milwaukee.
X-Pac, yeah.
Correct.
New GLCW champion.
We're broadcast journalists, though. We can still say X-Pac.
Well, that's who he was.
1, 2, 3 kid.
I didn't mean to throw you off there, but
you did. You did.
It's newsworthy.
WWE Raw from tonight. Sergeant Slaughter was in charge, and we saw some. Actually, this week we saw some things happen. Specifically, the search for HBK.
What?
Triple H is looking for
on a cordless phone.
He had a mobile telephone this time. Yes. Randy Orton looking for. I'm sorry, not Randy Orton. Triple H looking for HBK Shawn Michaels, and he goes, where was he? Was some kind of restaurant?
He was walking down the halls of a soup kitchen. Literally.
And Shawn Michaels was the soup Nazi.
Yes.
Guys, here's the question. How many times are we going to see DX reformed, and how many times are the sheep going to pop for it?
You know, when you think of DX, do you really think Triple H and Shawn Michaels?
Nope.
Or do you think Triple H, China, Outlaws, and X-Pac?
I think Outlaws along with everybody else.
When we talked about the 10 best factions, remember that was my 10 best. That they made my list. That group you just referenced in the 10 best. That particular DX. DX became, well, keep in mind, 1997 when DX launched, it was cutting edge. It was the thing to do, and it was Shawn Michaels and Triple H basically. And then in March of 1998,
with Rick Rude.
Yeah, indeed. March of 1998 is when Michaels took some time off after that match with Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14, and then we saw the group you just mentioned, Dave Hero, run with it. That group was better, but I'm not knocking anyways the initial pairing of Triple H and Shawn Michaels. But here's my question: how many times?
There's new merchandise to sell, Damien.
Well,
here's
how I look at it. It's DX. Everyone's darling, everyone's favorite tag team. They beat everybody, and they're going to wrestle a team that hasn't won a match. Well, with the exception of tonight, in a long, long time, a match that means something. I'm not going to buy the pay-per-view for that match.
I'm absolutely not buying the pay-per-view to watch D-Generation.
You won't. I won't, but the majority of the fans will.
For D-Generation X?
Yeah,
no.
let's admit it. No, you heard the pop Triple H got when he mentioned he was calling Shawn Michaels and they were bringing DX back. I'm sure that skit tonight's going to go over very well with the wrestling audience. People still care about DX. I just don't know why.
Who are you, and what are you talking about? Are you talking 5 years ago?
People still care about DX. The fans, the WWE fans, still care about DX.
You know what? They do. People still do care about DX. You saw the reaction X-Pac got.
Yeah.
Another
good point.
Yeah.
But DX is back. They're going to be in a match with Legacy at SummerSlam. What does this do for DiBiase and Rhodes, though?
It elevates them.
Even if they lose?
Well,
it doesn't elevate them that much. They just get in the main event mix. That's all they get.
Put it this way: they're going to get one heck of a payday from that match.
They get a payday, but they get put down.
I think
they're just more young teams to put over the old dinosaurs.
A falling out between Triple H and Shawn Michaels, and Legacy will get the victory.
Well, it wouldn't be SummerSlam without some kind of dissension between Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
So we can have that street brawl again?
No. I just think that Shawn Michaels is only coming back for maybe 2 or 3 pay-per-views a year. His full-time schedule is done, and I could see him coming in and having a little program with his buddy. But Legacy they have to win.
They need it.
SummerSlam.
They need it.
How many times have you said that though, Dave? Legacy has to win.
But right now is the time
Rhodes
when they truly have to win. If they lose to DX, then they're done. Then you might as well put them in gold jumpsuits and call them the Conquistadors.
What numbers?
7 and 8.
No, I think we're up to 9 and 10.
Okay.
Chris Jericho and the Big Show going after John Cena and Randy Orton. Yeah. Okay.
Who's the guest host next week?
Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's right. That's uneventful.
To be followed by Mike Adamle the following week. Adamle made that information available today, and then we actually found out that Jerry Springer is on the short list as well. That one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah,
only if he does it like Springer TV.
Well, it's scripted, so it's just like Springer's scripted.
Steve Wilkos will be around somewhere.
I think they had a falling out.
Yelling at people about not having responsibility for their babies.
Maybe Jeff Jarrett and Karen Angle and Kurt Angle could show up on that.
That would be a hot show.
We're going to talk to Kevin Nash about that later on in this very program. Jack Swagger. Evan Bourne, Part 3.
We talked about that earlier, Damien. They needed to keep those two guys apart for at least 6 months to a year.
The Heyman
to freshen it up again?
And they could have made it a special match at, WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. Really?
But they blew it.
Swagger Bourne?
Yeah. Because they would both...
Right now, this day, if WrestleMania were coming up in a month, you'd say that's the match to do.
Yeah, if they would have continued to let each guy build steam and just keep them away from each other.
When's the last time we've seen that, though?
Was two talents still
Savage
in
and
for
Steamboat. WrestleMania 3.
No, Heyman did it quite a bit in ECW.
Yeah, like Taz and Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
Or RVD and Taz. Yeah, that means something. Not like they're trying to jam you down with another John Cena, Randy Orton, or.
I've never seen that before.
No,
never. I was hoping to see it.
It'll be on SummerSlam.
Really? That'll be my first time ever seeing that match ever.
I think you might like it.
Probably not.
Want some statistics? You talk about Randy Orton, Triple H, or John Cena. Those three. Little statistical information about them in pay-per-view main events. Basically, the last time that there was a pay-per-view without any of them in the world title or heavyweight title match was Vengeance 2006.
3 years
The
ago.
last pay-per-view that didn't feature one of those three in a championship match was Vengeance 2006.
What was the main event on that one?
Yeah, do you have that?
Rob Van Dam defending the WWE Championship against Edge.
Wow.
Great American Bash 2006, December to December 2006. They were on Raw. Those were SmackDown branded and ECW branded pay-per-views as well. So those are sort of excluded from that. But the last time as well that there's been a WrestleMania without either Orton, Cena, or Triple H is WrestleMania 17.
Wow. That was before. Now, was that before Hogan Rock?
17 was
the year
in
before.
Houston.
That was the year before. 18 was Hogan Rock.
Wow.
16, remember, 16 was WrestleMania 2000.
And Hogan Rock seems so long ago.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the last one at Safeco Field. Hogan Rock 3. I'm not sorry, not Hogan Rock. I'm thinking Austin Rock. I apologize.
So those guys obviously dominating the main event scene in WWE for not just the last few months, but the last several years.
So what you're saying, Damien, is all three have made a lot of money.
Yeah, certainly. And I guess
I can't believe that Meathead just apologized about 30 seconds ago.
I'm a good guy. You know what? I get a bad rap around here. I'm a good guy.
Sergeant Slaughter was in charge, and he had not some very unfavorable things to say about Canada. Even teased Bret Hart, who was not Bret, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
No!
You know, I wonder if Hacksaw was kind of torn, because wasn't he part of Team Canada for a while in WCW?
In WCW. Yeah, but that's where he was made a janitor.
Yeah. Boy, so the people in Canada got Sergeant
Calgary,
Slaughter,
Alberta, Canada.
They got Eugene,
Mm-hmm.
and they got Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
For a special Calgary, Alberta,
Wow.
Canada show. No Lance Storm, no Trish
Don't
Stratus.
forget Jillian Hall.
Boy, once again, the fans in Canada get screwed.
They were sent home happy.
They walked in.
Wink, wink.
They walked in still screwed from '97.
But you got to figure
They're jaded.
When Slaughter mentioned that Bret Hart was there, you know they were all going nuts. They had to.
Oh, why wouldn't you do it? Well, and as I said, that's why they did the pre-tape with Shawn Michaels. Didn't have him live, in my opinion, because you can't put Shawn Michaels in front of a Canadian audience and expect him to get cheered.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting cheered, Eugene made his return, and The Miz is back on Raw.
What?
Weren't you watching?
What?
Eugene made his return. It was a contract on a pole match.
Yes.
And The Miz has wiggled his way back into
the Calgary Kid, The Miz.
Back onto Raw. I like the way they did that. I think maybe they should have. Well, maybe they had to do it the week after. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Kevin Nash still to come here on this program. We are going to be taking your phone calls. We've got Elliot and Anthony waiting on hold. You can join us at 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Time to get Simonized. This is the Pro Wrestling Report.
Are you working on the rust protection on your car?
ESPNMilwaukee.com and PWRShow.com. We're live Monday night, August 10th, 2009. Coming up in just a little while here, just about a half an hour, Kevin Nash.
The big sexy.
And yes, we do ask him about the controversy going on in total nonstop action right now pertaining to Jeff Jarrett, Kurt Angle, and Karen Angle.
Did you see his new shirt?
Kevin Nash?
Yeah. New merchandise out of TNA. How about that?
You keep saying that, but you must not watch Don West Daily Deals.
Okay. Bobby Lashley is on TV for what?
About a minute.
And he already has a T-shirt.
But they're calling him the God of Thunder or something lame like that, and his shirt says the Boss.
Well,
there's a disconnect there.
A disconnect? Dude, I can't even begin to think of the disconnect. What does that mean for anything?
Let's go to the phone lines, of which you can join us on, the number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Line 2, we've got Elliot from New York. Elliot, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Elliot?
Hey, well, I watch Raw.
Sorry.
No, actually, I actually got a wrestling show tonight.
Really?
Well,
You watched the Raw tonight, but did you watch the live Raw or did you watch the taped Raw?
I got the WWE version of a wrestling.
Oh, so Sergeant Slaughter led Raw tonight.
Besides that,
okay,
it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. You know, got a lot of good promos from what I saw. You know, good action. I enjoyed tonight. A lot of story progression. I enjoyed tonight. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And I have this to say about Legacy. Legacy, I see what Team Angle was.
Shelton Benjamin and Charlie
Well,
Haas.
but those guys were tag champs also.
Yeah, but they weren't tag champs right away.
But not as long as they're working out Legacy. I mean, literally, Legacy, I really see them breaking up before they even get any gold ever.
You know, Elliot, though, but, I mean, Team Angle had great matches with the Guerreros. Mm-hmm. I have yet to see a great match out of Legacy.
Well, we might just see. I see like 2 pay-per-views of a DX Legacy thing. 2 pay-per-views deep. That's the least I see it, and then them getting a legitimate thing going towards the end of the year.
So you think they're working towards the tag champs after the 2 pay-per-views with DX?
Yeah, either tag champs or they do their own little singles run, still with Legacy, but they do their own singles thing. Like they get their own singles feuds going.
Well, I hope they do something because
I know, but I still see a lot of potential. Not much from Cody Rhodes. I'm not a big Cody Rhodes fan. You can't sell me on
So
that.
you're saying he's the Marty Jannetty of the team?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm exactly saying that. But together they can probably do something. You know, that's what I see. I see a Team Angle because I didn't have faith in Team Angle. I thought, what is this BS? What do these 2 guys think they're doing? And now we have 2 great athletes, and they have pretty good careers for the past few years. Especially Shelton Benjamin. He's not the main event guy, but he's had a good run.
He's a Smurf now, isn't he?
That's smurfed up. Is he a heel or a face is the question. I'm still not sure who everybody was supposed to cheer for on that Abraham Washington show on ECW last week.
He's been getting beat up by Tajiri or somebody.
You know what's amazing about that? Mark Henry and Shelton Benjamin were pretty much, 2 of the main heels for the past couple of years are now baby faces. Overnight, with no explanation whatsoever.
Call Al Sharpton.
Benjamin's never been a face, though, has he?
Yeah. When he first got drafted to Raw and had that little run with Triple H.
Yeah, when he beat him a couple times.
Also, Shelton Benjamin was a face when they were doing that kind of 3-way mix between Hardy, like Johnny Nitro, and they were mixing up for the IC belt.
He was a heel.
And that, I think he was a face, because Carlito was in that mix, too.
From Carlito. And Carlito was a face.
Okay.
But I got to say my TNA news, or whatever my idea of my TNA idea, I don't know, whatever it's called. What are they building up to? What is a year building up to? It's been like almost a year.
They're building towards Kurt Angle versus Bobby Lashley.
Are they really? Because I'm looking at Bobby Lashley. He's almost getting no physical contact, kind of. He's getting into brawls and stuff like that. And I'm thinking he's getting like one of those minimum physical contact contracts.
Well, he does have a UFC match coming up, so I'm sure he doesn't want to get hurt before that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like a minimum contact, and how, because he's not even on the pay-per-view card this Sunday. You have your biggest acquisition.
But remember, he also just got back. I mean, inside the last month.
You couldn't get him into a match? You really
no, you're not going to be able to. You're right, though. But I'm saying.
Well, you could. I mean, they brought back Mick Foley. They had him in a match, shortly after Christian.
But will anyone care?
They could have easily made Bobby Lashley Joe for Sunday instead of Homicide Joe. They could have easily.
No, Homicide has to bust. Yeah, he's got to break in those new trunks he's got.
And he's got to bust in because he's got a heavyweight title shot coming up.
That's Hernandez.
Did I say Homicide or Hernandez? I'm sorry.
Homicide got a great promo on Impact too last
twice tonight.
And Homicide can wait because they got the Steel Asylum match going on, waiting for whoever's number contender from that. So he could have waited a pay-per-view off. They could have did Joe Lashley. They could have easily did that, and they could have did something. And they couldn't even did a lot of contact in that match. It could have got a disqualification or some BS like that. Even though I don't like to see disqualifications on pay-per-view.
Neither does Frank.
That's how they could have.
That's why Frank's not here. He's still hot about that.
But what are they really building towards Bound for Glory? They have so many factions and all this stuff. They're building up young talent. What is it coming up to? Bound for Glory. It has that WrestleMania anticipation now. It has that. It really does. It has that WrestleMania anticipation now.
Interesting perspective, Elliot. We do have to cut you short there. Thank you very much for that call. Good question, and at least saying he's intrigued by what's going on in TNA Wrestling right now. Let's go to line 3. We've got Anthony from Helmar. Anthony, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey there, guys.
Hey, what's up, Anthony?
First of all, about TNA, I think Homicide, if they really want to, they can make him like the next Eddie Guerrero. Don't you agree?
Define what you mean by Eddie Guerrero.
Well, the problem is we'd be doing it someone like Eddie Guerrero did when he was starting to get up and up to like the top star before he fought Brock Lesnar.
I mean, it's definitely two different kinds of characters. I mean, are you saying that you want to make Homicide a little more entertaining, a little more funny, haha?
No, maybe a little bit mixed what he's doing now and what he was in like on ROH when he like fought Colt Cabana.
All right. Well, do you think Homicide is as good of a wrestler as Eddie Guerrero?
No, I think Eddie Guerrero has a bit more talent.
So yeah, that would be the hardest thing there. I mean, Eddie Guerrero was able to carry guys, make them look good. You know, I mean, I don't know if Homicide is that, you know, is quite there yet.
I think the only real comparison that can be made, at least in my opinion, between those two, yeah. But between any superstar and Hernandez would have to be Brock Lesnar, and here's why I say that. Brock Lesnar was as impressive as he was because of his athletic prowess, because of the ability he had to just shock and wow us in the ring with his athletic abilities. Notice I didn't say wrestling abilities. I said athletic abilities. Hernandez is also as impressive as it pertains to his athleticism, especially given his size and his abilities in the ring, which are great. I think that that's a comparison that can be made. I don't see any comparison between the two, Eddie Guerrero and Hernandez. Anthony, thank you for that call. Let's continue along the course of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, last week WWE told us how their last 3 months were as it pertains to business in a quarter that ended with WrestleMania included, and business is not looking as good as they may have expected it to. However, they still made a good amount of money on the business of WWE so far this year. First, let's talk about pay-per-view buys and numbers that have been widely reported on the Internet. WrestleMania did not get what was expected, which was that 1 million buy rate number, or 1 million buy number. They actually did about 960,000 buys for WrestleMania, which, quite frankly, if you round up, is 1 million. So I don't think it's the end of the world.
You can round anything up to be anything.
But Brock Lesnar at UFC 100 was 1.5 million.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. WWE was able to still make more money off of WrestleMania this year, about $10 million more, because of the decreased production costs, because they didn't have to build all of the contraptions that they built for WrestleMania 24 being outside, and also the higher price that they charged for the pay-per-view this year. So smart business decisions. And that's what happens. You raise the price, you're going to have maybe fewer people purchase, but you're going to ultimately make more money in some cases. And that's what WWE realized for WrestleMania. With it being the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, though, gentlemen, do you think that it being one of the least bought WrestleManias in the last 5 years is a red flag for WWE?
No, not at all. Again, you put so much emphasis on the word 25th anniversary. What did they do to make it special? And I've asked this question on other shows, but how was it different? How was it special? How did, besides the number 25, that it was the 25th anniversary, how was it special?
Well, they brought back Ricky Steamboat. They had Roddy Piper. They had Jimmy Snuka.
Austin was inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I think was
No.
planned.
The Hall of Fame has nothing to do with WrestleMania.
No, it has everything to do with WrestleMania.
No. If somebody's inducted into the Hall of Fame, that has nothing to do with the WrestleMania show.
They're part of the WrestleMania event.
No, absolutely not.
And they show up at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
What, for 2 minutes? You're going to buy a pay-per-view based on a guy showing up on stage for 2 minutes?
Here is the definitive moment that defined WrestleMania as being the 25th anniversary and made it significant. The Wrestling God.
Nobody bought the
retired.
pay-per-view for that crap.
Well, think
Nobody.
about also, the economy is tight. There's other wrestling, zones where you can go to, like a BW3s or
blast areas.
Yeah, that's it. The blast areas, and nowadays, people are getting together. They're having a WrestleMania party.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of
less buys.
So instead of 10 households buying 10 pay-per-views,
one household.
One household has 15, 20 friends over.
Good, and that's the way it should be.
And that's why the buys are down.
But again, I still ask the same question over and over. Why was it special? It was no different to me than any other pay-per-view.
Well, what should they have done?
I don't know what to do, to be honest with you. You could have had Hulk Hogan come back. You could have had guys from the first WrestleMania, that first WrestleMania main event. You could have had that.
Okay, well, Piper was there. He was in the first WrestleMania.
Snuka was around, and he was outside the ring
Snuka
for that
was
match.
there.
The event has enough significance where just simply celebrating the 25th is enough of a big deal.
But how did they celebrate it?
By
saying, hey, this is my 25th.
Hey,
it's my 25th. But what did you do?
But again, I ask you, what should they have done?
I don't know what to do.
So, how is it a problem?
You know what? Hogan was supposed to have been there, but then he had his back surgery.
Right, which he just had another
Hogan
one again.
will never wrestle again.
Right,
and if he does, you will never see the leg drop again.
If you advertise that Hogan's going to be on the show, you will get buys for that.
Well, of course. You know,
you're not getting buys for Piper. You're not getting buys for Snuka.
But listen, the whole business has changed. It's run by Triple H, John Cena, and Vince McMahon.
Really? That's new to me. I just learned that last week.
So it's like they're not going to bring Hulk Hogan in because Triple H doesn't like Hulk Hogan. They don't want to, The Rock is gone. All the magic from the last 10 or 15 WrestleManias is not there anymore.
And it's not, we can't say not welcome back, but we can say just frowned upon being around.
Yeah. So, the only way they could have made it memorable is if you bring back Andre the Giant, which isn't going to happen.
He's unavailable.
And it's Hulk Hogan. But Hogan wasn't going to be there. They couldn't agree on money, and then he had the back surgery.
$21 million in 5 hours. That's what WWE generated from WrestleMania. So whether they made enough noise about it or not, that's how much money they made just off of pay-per-view buys, and I think they did nearly an $8 million gate. So the juggernaut is there. Excluding WrestleMania, though, profits did decline about 10%. However, as I said, due to cost-cutting and whatnot, they did make much more money, almost twice as much, with $31.7 million in the quarter as compared to $15.7 million. Without WrestleMania, it would have only been $16.7 million, meaning a $1 million increase. So regardless, business may be down, but business is certainly good in WWE right now. And we'll talk more about those numbers and some detailed analysis on the television ratings for all four shows when we come back. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
This is Mike Cameron of the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're listening to 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and PWRshow.com. Coming up in just a little while at the top of the hour, we've got Kevin Nash. Live interview with Kevin Nash. We're going to talk about his valet search going on the West Coast this week, and also TNA Wrestling, what's going on over there, and are the backstage rumors true? We will ask Kevin Nash about that. This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Damian Nelson sitting alongside the man they call Meathead and David Hero. We're live Monday night, August 10th, 2009. And just before we took that time out, we were talking about WWE's business situation and the results that they announced just recently. Got a couple of callers on the line. You can be one of them by calling 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Let's go now to Steve from Heartland. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Steve.
Well, off the bat, just on a side note, they could have brought in, on WrestleMania 25, they could have brought Macho Man. I know that they just started getting into it. That could have brought somebody, maybe worked something out with the Ultimate Warrior. Of course, that relationship's pretty sour. But
well, apparently everything in his brain is a little sour, too. It's kind of hard to understand him anymore.
Yeah, I don't understand what he's talking about. I thought Raw was all right. I always laugh every time they always tease Bret Hart coming out to think that he's actually going to come out, and the fans, I guess you got to pop if you're in Calgary, but did you guys even really think Bret Hart was going to really walk out?
No.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of humorous with some of that stuff, but it was all right. Impact, I like what they're doing. I like the World Elite a lot. I love the British Invasion and all those guys with them.
Damian Nelson has mentioned on Primetime this last week his next big thing for 2010 is Rob Terry.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's a big fan of Rob Terry.
He's lying.
Well,
he's lying.
Yeah, okay.
No, Rob Terry, he's a big fan of him. He loves British Invasion, too, and Rob Terry.
Yeah, from what I hear, he doesn't really know what he's doing in the ring. But
well, Damian Nelson doesn't know what he's doing here either, just like me.
Excuse me.
That's
I
okay,
like that.
Meathead.
And what do you guys think about the? Hopefully, they're going to connect these two as a tag team in ECW with Regal and Burchill.
Nice.
It eventually was going to happen anyways. They're British. They're British.
Well, it had to happen.
One's a pirate.
As long as it's not of the Butte variety.
I love that gimmick. That was hilarious.
Paul Burchill can learn a lot from William Regal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, tons. And
imagine Paul Burchill wrestling Bill Goldberg. Do you think Burchill would sell to Goldberg?
Oh, I don't know. But I wish they would let him use his finisher, his old finisher. It's a fantastic finisher.
Mm-hmm.
What is that called? I don't even remember what the name of that is.
I haven't seen it in so long. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Where he flips. It's unbelievable. I really like it. But one last thing with SmackDown going on, kind of threw me off with Matt Hardy. What do you guys think we're planning on with Matt Hardy?
Well, one Hardy's leaving. It's time to push the other one.
It was interesting. I don't think anybody expected that. I didn't read the spoilers going into it, so I was a little surprised by it. I was surprised by, firstly, Matt Hardy's face. Secondly, the fact that he did do what he did in that matchup and sort of seemed like he was aligning himself with his brother again. Or again.
Again. By the way, from the chat Osphere, Bookworm 316 says the C4 was the name of Burchell's finisher. C4.
E4?
C, Charlie.
Oh, C4. Okay.
You know.
All right. Gotcha. Yeah, I guess that's the right thought process. If one's going, the other one's going to start pushing that one. But I'm starting. I'm enjoying what they're doing right now on TNA over the last couple of weeks, and I've enjoyed it. And I don't know if that's because of Jared not running things right now, but whatever they're doing, I'm enjoying the pushes some of these guys. I mean, like Hernandez they're getting, and those are the type of guys that I don't know if Jared would be pushing, but now that Russo's in full charge.
Okay, let me ask you this while we got you on the phone, and this has been a kind of a hot topic for the last few days. What did you think of the TNA brawl?
I actually liked it. At first I thought, oh, here we go. Okay, this will be a little bit long. But it was a long segment. And I like the fact that there were so many people involved in it.
I think the best part about the brawl was actually that the main guys were in.
Right. It wasn't the cronies, you know?
Right. It wasn't just your job squad guys. You didn't have Virgil beating up Brian Adams or something like that.
Whoa, you can't put Virgil in the job squad.
We'll talk much more about that later on. As a matter of fact, in the next segment. But Steve from Heartland, thank you very much for that call. Let's go to line 3. Glenn from Florida. You're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey, Glenn. First time?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks. All right. So I have a couple of things that I was about to talk to you guys about.
Okay, go ahead.
The guest host of Raw has been going on for about 6 weeks.
Or about a minute.
Who do you think will be the first woman guest host?
Sally Jesse Raphael.
I'm not sure if she's still with us.
Excuse me?
I don't know if she's still alive. Is she still alive?
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea who the first.
Linda McMahon.
No. Really? Who's out there? Sable popped into my head, Rena Mero, but that ain't going to happen.
No, it never happened.
Maybe Sonny can do it one week.
I know you want me.
What do you think about Evanescence?
You mean Amy Lee?
I don't know. I mean, why not?
Actually, I'm more a fan. No, I'm more a fan of stuff like Lacuna Coil.
It'll probably be Stephanie.
No disassemble.
If they got a new album dropping, I mean, you got to look at who's promoting what when. And
Megan Fox.
Oh.
But Transformers has already been out.
Oh, I just transformed a little myself.
Glenn, what else you got for us?
All right. Now, DX is coming back.
Why?
I don't know why. Probably money. Do you think it'll be a one-night only thing, or do you think that they're here to stay for a while?
A few pay-per-views, I think.
No,
Dave.
I mean, I think they'll be on and off. I mean, they'll next week they'll be together. They'll do the pay-per-view. They'll probably come back out together on Monday, and then Shawn Michaels will then once again disappear until the Royal Rumble. Once the Rumble comes and goes, then he'll come back for WrestleMania. Be gone for the summer. Come back at SummerSlam. Yeah.
We were talking musical artists like Amy Lee, and like I said, I like Lacuna Coil. What about the newly signed musical artist, China?
China?
Mm-hmm.
Joni Lauer.
She's still singing?
Apparently, she's got a record contract.
Good for her.
You can call us, folks, 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Let's go to Bowman from Boston. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's up, Bowman? I think you owe me one for putting you over there on the C4, but see that as it may.
Yeah, Paul Brocha was awesome. He was a pirate swinging into the ring. Like, who does that?
Yeah, like I said, as long as he's not of the Butte variety. What's up?
As far as those guest hosting, I think I said something to Damien earlier today. I'm not sure if you got the email. I had quite a few different lists of people they could possibly use, sort of use as a guest host. That would actually matter.
The interns haven't given it to me yet.
So list them off. Take credit.
Like Snoop Dogg, an actual wrestling fan, would work.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to have
that's funny that you mentioned that, Bowman, because Dave Hero mentioned that last week. Let's get somebody that's into the product. You know, somebody that can relate to the product. Like I said, you know what? I think I told Damien this on Primetime. Get Zach Wilde from Black Label Society.
Yeah, not a bad idea. And I even said, if you're going to have Bob Barkley, you got to have Adam Sandler, and you got to have the Happy Gilmore moment. You're going to have them both there.
I also want the guy from the trees that yells out Jackass.
Yeah, you know, just something funny, maybe something as a twist. If you want to bring a female in, bring Tina Fey in as Sarah Palin.
You know what they should do? They should have Peter Griffin host it. They can do that. I mean, it'll all have to obviously be, you know, on the screen, but that would be funny. I think it would relate to wrestling fans.
And something funny maybe for, you know, someone like maybe wrestling related guest hosts, obviously Stone Cold and The Rock and all those obvious guys. I would use Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov.
Oh, can you imagine Sheiky as
Sheiky, baby.
Special guest host?
We keep talking about whether or not we should have Sheik on this show.
I've been begging you guys to bring that
and what do I
Sheik on
No. You've been begging Damien. I said sure.
And Damien always says no. You know, I think the Iron Sheik would be great. You're like, no one's going to understand him. No one cares.
That's the best part about it. That is the best part about it.
You can check out our interview with the Iron Sheik at pwrshow.com, a video interview. Probably one of the few interviews where you can actually learn something about the Iron Sheik.
And not only can you learn something about the Iron Sheik, he wasn't consistently for 20 minutes being egged on to bash Hogan.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It was a nice interview.
And we won't egg him on or antagonize him.
No, we don't do that.
Well, you might meet him, but I know Damien
I don't antagonize people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sheiky baby.
And I also thought another one would probably be maybe Bob Backlund as Mr. Backlund.
Ooh, now you're talking. He'd come out in his opening promo say he needs everybody to name all 44 presidents, otherwise he won't start.
In order.
Because that's the only way he signs an autograph. But I haven't said that I don't think I've said it in a while. But you literally will not sign your autograph unless you can name all the presidents in order.
You guys talked about that at a TNA show in catering, right?
No, it was at WrestleMania 13, 1997, at the Westin Hotel in Chicago, Illinois, for WrestleMania 13.
He's getting hot.
That's when
I know. Don't get hot.
He put me in the chicken wing. It actually hurts. He'd do that, but he wouldn't sign an autograph.
Really?
I couldn't name all the presidents. Bowman, thanks for that call.
Thanks, Bowman.
Another call from Orlando, Florida. Mike, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, Mike, when was the last time you were on the OBT?
I don't know. Let me get back to you on that.
Mike, you just scored a point. Ding.
Thank you.
Mike, what do you have for us?
How about a review of Raw? I think this can sum it up. I've never had an episode of Raw give me diarrhea before.
You're going to have to check your diet.
This one pretty much did. This one was abysmal. I haven't had this probably, you know, WWE will once in a while put on a Raw that makes me question whether or not I want to be a WWE fan, and this was it.
Well, you do live in TNA country, so.
Well, but what were you expecting? I mean, Raw's been the same show for the past, few weeks.
But this was just bad. What was the deal with that whole HBK segment? Why a cook? Why a burger? Nothing about that made any sense. Nothing about any of that Raw made any sense.
Well, if you noticed, when it comes to Shawn Michaels, he's been the butt of all of Triple H's jokes now for the past couple of years.
True. It still doesn't make any sense.
Because Michaels found God. So he doesn't touch a lot of that stuff he used to touch. Well, literally.
Well, it is also a PG show now.
Yeah.
Well, what about that Miz segment? Why did they end that? I mean, what was the point of ending that and doing it in the first place? If you were just going to end it the following week, I guess.
I mean, you could say the same thing. Why did Donald Trump buy Raw and then sell it back?
Well, because they were getting into financial trouble. People were starting to actually think that was real, and they were actually getting some heat. They had to end it.
All they had to do was make a statement, but they didn't have to end it.
I mean, and I mentioned this earlier. The match I want to see on Raw is Big Show and Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Because that's the match that can solidify Randy Orton as a legitimate tough guy. If he can beat the Big Show.
But there'll be too many shenanigans.
But that's the match they have to have. Because you know what? I would pay for that pay-per-view match.
I would too. Actually, you know what? I'd want to see Big Show and Shaq on pay-per-view. I'd watch that.
Mike from Orlando, we got to cut you off. We got to take a timeout. We're getting ready to welcome Kevin Nash to the program.
Top of the program.
Kevin Nash of the Main Event Mafia and TNA Wrestling is going to join us. This is his third time on the program. Kevin Nash, a great friend of the show and always
a fan of the show. Yeah,
always fun to talk to. Always very fun to talk to is Kevin Nash. And as I said, we're not going to softball him. We're going to ask the questions. I don't know how he's going to answer it, but we're going to ask the question about what's going on backstage with TNA Wrestling right now.
You know, the only thing with that question is he might get hot about it.
Hey,
and not want to come back again.
As a broadcast journalist, I have to take that risk. I've been down in Atlanta for a little while getting some training from Wolf Blitzer.
Wolf Blitzer?
Yeah, from CNN.
That's his wrestling
This
training.
is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Kevin Nash when we come back.
For over 10 years, the world's #1 source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your hosts, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and PWRShow.com. We're live Monday night, August 10th, 2009. And with us right now, joining us again, Kevin Nash, Big Sexy. Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report. Welcome back to 540 ESPN.
Well, thank you for having me.
Kevin, you've got a lot going on this week, specifically out on the West Coast. You're looking for a new valet.
I'm looking for my first valet.
Pamela Anderson didn't count, huh?
You know, the whole Hep C thing threw me for a spin.
So tell us about what you're up to out in California looking for a new valet. How do you get into it? How do you qualify, and how do you sign up?
It's much like Huey Lewis was looking for a new drug. I'm actually looking for my first valet, and the idea came up as I was turning 50 years old, and we were brainstorming with some of the PR guys. We thought, like what can we do to kind of set something off that kind of at the same time, helps brand TNA, throws in the big sexy attitude, and does something that's unique in my career, and we thought about it, and I said, I got an idea. How about somehow involving like hot broads and me? And
win-win.
Yeah, it really is. It's a win-win. And so, and on top of that, the show's the 20th, so it's actually kind of like a little early Christmas present for me if it turns out right.
Christmas, New Year's, birthday,
everything,
the whole thing.
Hanukkah,
absolutely.
Kwanzaa.
You know, Kev, you were in Wizard World down in Chicago. There were a lot of potential, valets down there for you as well. I mean, you had tons of beautiful women, all around the big sexy.
My favorite one was she was probably about 29 years old. She had dark hair. She had an incredible body. And she came up to me and she said, I didn't even know you wrestled. I just thought you were the hot guy from Grandma's Boy. I was like, could you be more obscure than that? And then she sits in my lap. This girl is just, on a scale of 1 to 10, she's like a 9 easy. And she goes, she's got a real short jean skirt on. She goes, I just want to tell you before I'll sit in your lap, but I don't have panties on. I'm like, thanks for sharing that. Wow.
Yeah, and then of course,
please put your picture in the mix. I'm sure I won't forget you.
Yeah. Now describe the perfect valet, Kevin. The perfect valet. Who are you looking for specifically and exactly?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something, man, and this is going to sound so cliche, but to me, the best valet ever, and they broke the mold was Miss Elizabeth.
The original. Wow.
Because she was beauty, she was class, she was vulnerable, and getting a chance to work with her and be her friend later on in WCW. in a perfect world, if you took that person and made it a 2010 version, that to me is just, that would be the dream girl. But you don't know. I've been doing this media tour. I mean, I started this morning at 5:30 Pacific time, and I've been doing almost a show an hour.
Yeah.
And one thing that even though Scott Hall broke up with me at the Juggalo gathering the other night, one thing Scott and I always said was and you guys will agree with me, there's been so many times in your lives that you've met a girl that's a 9 or a 10, and you go up to her and you have a conversation, and 3 minutes into it, you realize, God, she's such a dud.
Yeah.
Just she goes from a 10 to a 7 in 30 seconds. And then there's the girl that kind of has a little bit of a bump on her nose, and she's kind of got the Sarah Jessica, and I call it that kind of Sarah Jessica Parker thing, that kind of maybe a little bit of a mole someplace, and you look at her and yeah, she's kind of a 7, but then by the time you look at it and you put her, and to me it's a girl's attractiveness is about 90% attitude.
Yeah.
And you get I'd rather have a 6 with incredible attitude, because those girls always end up being a 9.
Right.
What's the same thing as when they know they look good, when they know they're beautiful, they're not.
Yeah, it's and I don't know how risque we can get here, but let's just say
Blue Hour. Go ahead.
I mean it's one of those deals where it's you make love to this beautiful girl, and and you get done with her and you go, baby, that was great, especially that time there at the end where you moved.
Well,
she's looking in the mirror the whole time, making sure her lipstick's right.
Yeah. Well, the valet search continues all this week in California, out on the West Coast. And if you're interested in applying for that, you can go to TNAWrestling.com. And it's going to be at the Final Resolution pay-per-view, as you said earlier, December 20th in Orlando, Florida, where we will find out who will be your very first valet.
Kev, so you got the next couple of weeks, couple of months to find the one you want.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
I mean, and what the cool thing is I said it one night at the Nash household when I'm at home. 7:00 is dinner. I mean, on the dot, 7:00 is dinner. My son's there, my wife's there, and I'm there. No exceptions. Everybody eats dinner together every night, and we watch Jeopardy as a family. And of course, I completely just have so much just useless knowledge in my brain.
And you dominate.
16th century poets. And the answer is, I couldn't get a job at a Texaco station, but I can give Trebek a run for his money. But and I just ran this by her. I ran it by my wife because I know without her blessing, man, then all it means is 4 months in the guest room, which is not cool.
That's an easy punishment, 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months in the guest room. But it just so happens that she walks around the house in really nice lingerie half the time when my son's gone. It doesn't talk to me. Whoa,
yeah.
You can't. This is
that's the death sentence.
I'd rather be waterboarded.
We can find
by Cheney and lingerie.
Oh, wait a minute.
Clear heels. Remember, just imagine being waterboarded by Cheney with clear heels.
Yeah.
I'll give you any information you want. This is something to have a nightmare to tonight.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com, and PWRshow.com. Our guest tonight is Kevin Nash, Big Sexy, looking for his first valet.
Kev, you got a big match coming up for the TNA Legends title, you and Mick Foley.
This Sunday at Hard Justice on pay-per-view.
Now, this is the first time you've ever wrestled Mick in a one-on-one contest, right?
No, we actually wrestled one time, and I want to think 92 in Aberdeen, Scotland, and we were WCW, and if I'm not mistaken, it was I was such a Jay Brown, but he was it wasn't Kazmar Osgood. But it was maybe Vinny Vegas Firebreaker Chip.
Ooh, there you go.
That kind of quality match.
Well, I mean, a lot's changed since then. Now, of course, Mick Foley is the hardcore icon, the hardcore legend. Is Kevin Nash going to bring the barbed wire back to the ring?
I don't think I have much of a chance not to. I mean, I'm going to at least have it planted somewhere. I mean, you got a guy missing half an ear, his teeth are. It's not like he really cares. I mean, if you look at me, I mean, I guess if you were to say the opposite of Abdullah the Butcher would be Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
You're looking for a valet. You can't get scarred.
No, I'm like my wife says, she says that very much a narcissist, but whatever,
Yeah, but
sorry,
Kevin Nash has never been in better shape than he is right now either.
But
you say, Kev?
I don't want to. I don't want to bleed. So my prerogative is to make sure that the guy with the mullet and the sweet flannel bleeds profusely before I do. So that's my game plan going in. Beat him, and this is the good thing too. See, our age isn't that far apart. My conditioning is I'm going to kill him conditioning wise. I'm bigger, stronger, in better shape. He does have a beautiful wife, though, so I will give him credit for that. And I mean that with respect, and no other. I mean, he really does. His wife is just a knockout. And a great girl. He's got a great family, and I just hope they don't show up because I don't want the whole Wrestling with Shadows or whatever the hell the name of that movie is.
Beyond the Mat.
Cries,
Beyond the Mat.
Gets beaten to a pulp and bleeds because you know what? And on top of that, I watched The Wrestler again. I tried Mick. I'm sorry. Just Tomei, super hot. I mean, I'm giving her. You know what? If she's out there listening right now, hey baby, listen. I know you're a big movie star and everything else, but don't be afraid to put in the search. I'll give you a look.
Kev. Speaking of the movie stars, there's been some rumors about you on a certain Marvel movie. The Asgard Thor.
Well, there was talk that a long time ago that they were looking for me maybe to play that, and then they said, well, he's too old if we do a franchise, blah blah blah. Now they're saying that they may want to throw me in as the dad, and then I heard last week is the love interest. So I mean it's such a plot. It's all over the place. I don't know where it's going, but
Well, Kev, you kind of gave us something there that we have to ask when you mentioned love interest.
Our obligation.
Is it a work or is it a shoot? The love triangle with Jeff, Karen, and Kurt. What's going on down there?
Well, I mean, it is true that Jeff and Kurt are dating.
It's a real story, huh?
And it's I mean, it threw me for a loop for a while. I understand. I mean, I find them both. I mean, seriously, I find them both very attractive. I'm not going to say. I mean, the blue eyes and the blonde hair, very very dominant, almost Aryan kind of but Southern Aryan, which is kind of crazy. And then you've got a sensitive, soft gold medal winner.
Sensitive.
So I mean, I can't blame either of them for falling in love. I look at them both and fall in love with them over and over again. I have their action figures. I'm sitting here naked in the tub as we speak with their action figures. I'm gonna get it out. I'm just gonna say that. That's how I roll.
Kevin Nash, this Sunday, Hard Justice on pay-per-view. You try to recapture that Legends Championship.
Well, I think he's going to recapture it.
And also looking for a valet out on the West Coast.
Do you know how heavy that belt is? That belt weighs about like as much as a 72 Pinto.
So let me
I
guess.
won that thing the other day. And I won it when I beat AJ. I raised it over my hand and blew my rotator cuff out. I'm like, who built this belt?
So then when it's in your suitcase, who pays for the extra baggage? Is that you or TNA?
Exactly. What do you have in that belt? It's 51 pounds. It's just the belt. That's it. That's all that's in my bag is the belt.
The valet search continues all this week on the West Coast. Again, go to TNAWrestling.com if you want to sign up, put in an application to be Kevin Nash's first valet, and you will be at final resolution on December 20th on pay-per-view from Orlando, Florida. Kevin, thank you so much for your time here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Best of luck to you, and we look forward to talking to you again here soon on the Pro Wrestling Report.
Thanks, guys. Good talking to you.
Thanks, Kev.
All right, man. Later.
Take care. Bye-bye.
540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Yeah, try in the microphone.
It's about time you came back from the little boys' room, too.
Hey.
I had to get my mic fixed.
This is Wisconsin. I eat a lot of cheese.
Yeah, and we can, and we're all smelling it right now, too.
Hey.
Kevin Nash was our guest in the last segment.
He confirmed it.
Well, you know what? All we can do is ask the question. We asked the question. I'm not sure Kevin really wanted to talk about it because
it's touchy.
Yeah, to say the least. But anyways,
he confirmed it though.
Well,
Jeff and Kurt are dating.
This is not a tabloid show. We're not the Inquirer. This is not the checkout aisle at the supermarket.
You know what's funny though is Meat had even mentioned that, even he goes in the bathtub with his Chris Jericho figures.
Nash was on point tonight. He was very funny, and we always appreciate having Kevin Nash on the show. So thanks to Kevin Nash for joining us from the West Coast tonight, as he is indeed doing that valet show.
He was very on point as well about Marissa in The Wrestler.
Oh yeah!
Wow, I mean wow.
Let me guess. You must have bought that one in Blu-ray, right?
Yeah, and I watched it and had to pause it, and then I had to go back to watching it again and go back to watching a wrestling movie.
We were talking about WWE's business results before we took some phone calls. And remember, you can call us, the number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. And WWE pay-per-view buys specifically, a little bit of a challenge over the last few months. Judgment Day doing 228,000 buys, down from its 252,000 in 2008. Extreme Rules actually up, doing 213,000 buys, up from 194,000 last year. And the Bash, which we don't have last year's information on, was with 178,000 buys.
We need to get the TNA pay-per-view buys, don't we?
Unfortunately, that information is not released.
And I don't think it's something you want to see.
I want to see it. I'm curious to see. I heard it was, 12,000 buys last month? 12,000. Do
you think they're having their own blast areas at their houses like they're doing with WWE?
There's no blast areas.
No, what I'm saying is, do you think that, friends are getting together? The 10 of them or whatever.
Well, we all know that Damien, he just flies down there and watches them himself live.
Yeah,
Here's
must be a TNA mark.
Here's what Vince McMahon had to say about the WWE's financial results, and I quote, "Pretty good job this quarter. They did a pretty good job in this quarter despite the economy." He also said that DVD revenue had a quote-unquote sharp decline and that DVD sales and pay-per-view buys, quote-unquote, need to be addressed. So they're going to be rolling out a 3-year business plan to increase profitability starting in the next quarter.
You watch how many more overseas tours they're going to be taking.
That business, and I think that's probably the most troubling thing for them, that business down as well, international live events down. That had been a strength for the company for a very long time. Specifically, live event revenues were about $35 million, about the same as last year. Lower average ticket prices this year, they had a revenue decline of about 26% due to average ticket prices being lower and lower average attendance, specifically at the international events. Now, let's not miss the point that TNA does tremendous business in the UK.
Well, it's one of the top-rated shows over there, isn't
it?
And
Consistently,
you know why?
week to week.
I bet you because they all think it's SmackDown light or something. When you see when you see Kurt Angle and Scott Steiner and Kevin Nash and Mick Foley and hey, you know what I heard over the weekend? There with the
Dave, can you tell me?
The Wizard World down in Chicago.
Okay.
There were a few TNA stars down there.
A couple.
A few former WWE stars down there.
A couple.
And the whole Mr. Ken Anderson thing came up. Certain people are kind of hoping he doesn't go to TNA because they feel it's just another way of keeping the current TNA stars down, not elevating any of them. But then yet some other bigger TNA stars are looking forward to him coming into TNA because they feel he'd be a great addition to the front line. So it's kind of interesting how...
Does the front line still exist? I mean, I know what you're talking about as far as the non-main event Mafia.
Well, I mean, you got to figure it'd be Ken, Bobby Lashley, Mick Foley, Sting, AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, you know.
Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah. But it's interesting that, you know, the TNA talent, the guys that have been there from day one, are getting frustrated because they're not getting the push, and whenever someone leaves WWE, they come in right away.
They come in hot shot.
And they get the big push right away. Yeah.
Because TNA does hot shot.
It's not like TNA doesn't have other things to worry about right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the owner and the, you know, the love
and the top guy getting it on with each other.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines. We'll take line 3 first, and we've got Dave from Roma.
Diamond Dave is awake at 11:26.
Hey guys.
Hey,
Diamond Dave, darling.
Now we were just talking about Kevin Nash and a couple glasses of wine. Dave, remember it's radio, but tell us what you've been doing.
Well, I'm still in the volleyball court. 51 hours ago, Tracy and Nydia said they were coming back. And I'm starting to suspect that I've been jobbed.
That big GLCW Slam Fest event was this past Saturday night at Romines here in Milwaukee. Tracy Brooks and Nydia, along with Sean Waltman, were part of that event.
And if you haven't seen Nydia,
well.
Wow.
Yeah. I did not recognize her. That's how
I did, and I followed her around. She doesn't know that yet. I followed her around.
So, Dave, how much longer are you going to wait?
I have all the time in the world, baby, or until this case of beer runs out.
How was the show on Saturday night, Dave?
The show was just outstanding. I still got sand in my shorts. Maybe that's why they're not coming back. I don't know.
Well, they don't want to get the wrong rub.
That's as hard as I get.
No, Romines was definitely the place to be.
What was it? Is it Romines?
Yes, it's fantastic.
Yes, and you can see SummerSlam there next Sunday.
Yes, we're looking forward to that, and UFC's coming up. We're going to be doing the UFC shows now, so...
it's the place to be.
Lots of sweaty bodies hitting each other, you know?
Well, Dave,
on screen, I hope.
Pardon?
On screen, I hope.
Well, unless Tracy and Nydia show up, then that's a whole different story.
Wait, I see headlights. It could be.
Dave, thank you so much for calling in here to the Pro Wrestling
Good
Report.
show, guys.
Let's continue on the phone lines, and let's go to Ruben from New York. Ruben, you're live with the Pro Wrestling Report.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up, Ruben?
Good. Just finished watching Raw. I don't know. I don't like it that much. But it's all right.
Now, you see, we don't like it that much, but we keep watching it.
I have an excuse. Dave and Damian here, we have excuses.
Because you're,
we're broadcast journalists. I can't even talk.
Yeah, and you have to watch it. No, I just you know, I just got like at 10. Let me see a little bit of wrestling. Just let me watch it. But SmackDown and the other shows are pretty good. I don't know, TNA. I don't know. I'm just it's getting a little better now because at least you know the World Elite now they're basically new guys that are getting a chance like in the big spot. So I was getting frustrated because like the guys that were there in TNA for a long while. The new guys, the young guys, they're not getting really their opportunity. It's like WWE again. Each week they start the same. So the Main Event Mafia or Jarrett or Mick Foley, like Raw starts or Randy Orton, Triple H, or John Cena.
You're right. Yeah, I don't know how else to argue that. And you know the thing with TNA, if they keep bringing in, and Ken, we want Ken Anderson to show up in TNA. We think there's a great opportunity there for him. But I think TNA's got just too much talent there. There's too many individuals, too many wrestling.
They have 51 people under contract.
For a 2-hour show.
Yeah, they need another show. They need another show.
And that's what I've been saying.
Yeah,
they do have Explosion. And they do a web match every week. Syndicated, and it's available, I believe, overseas.
Where? No, I mean, because when TNA was available on Fox Sports Net, not too many people were watching it then. It's gotten its exposure now from being on Spike TV.
Yeah.
And Johnny Morasco.
the AJ Styles match with Matt Morgan, they were pretty good.
Yeah, all in all, decent impacts last week. At least that's what you all are saying out in the IWC. The feedback has been tremendously favorable for that program last week. And let's talk about TV, and let's talk about the ratings, and let's talk about the business of television wrestling right now compared to January of 2009. Now, these are interesting numbers, guys. When you look at the ratings, we're not going to compare show to show because there really is no comparison show to show. But where there is noteworthy information is looking at the ratings over a 6-month, 7-month period.
You're talking about show compared against itself.
Correct. So specifically speaking, talking about WWE SmackDown, January 2009, the average rating for the show was a 2.12. Right now, in July of 2009, as of the end of the month, the average rating was a 1.78 for a 16% decrease.
Let me ask, summertime.
Thank you. Let me ask you this. Now, are you able to pull this up? And you probably don't have it now, and that's something we can do down the road. But are you able to pull up January 2008 versus January 2009? I think you got to. This is kind of an unfair comparison because you're comparing different seasons against each other. I think you need to compare the same season, same timeline, year to year to year.
Good point, but this is basically they're supposed to be keeping viewers from month to month, whether it's summer or not. Friday nights are a bad night, so if you're home on a Friday night in the winter, I think you're home on a Friday night in the summer as well.
But didn't the My Network also change formats or make some changes from January until now as well, where the SmackDown moved?
No, SmackDown has been on Fridays for that whole period.
No, right, but they changed
That was before January.
You're talking about going from the CW to the My Network?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was 2008.
Okay.
16% decrease for what many people are saying is the best show from WWE right now.
But not entertaining. It's the best produced wrestling show, but it's not entertaining.
Wrestling fans are turned off right now.
Absolutely.
I don't think they are. Some shows saw an increase. Specifically, WWE Raw has seen an increase since January of 2009. January 2009, Raw had an average rating of 3.59. July of 2009, the average rating is a 3.69 for a 3% increase.
But the thing with the Raw is that they're doing gimmicks. I mean, they are doing desperate booking right now. They're doing gimmicks.
What do you consider desperate booking?
Guest hosts. They're putting on Donald Trump.
Okay, do you think Jeremy Piven or Freddie Prinze Jr. is going to be a spike in the ratings?
Shaq was.
Well, okay, Shaq, but
it's desperation.
Sergeant Slaughter's not.
Absolutely
Jeremy Piven,
not.
Freddie Prinze,
Nope.
No, I mean, yeah. Those guys aren't mainstream enough right now.
But a 3% increase. Again, you compare that to SmackDown with the 16% decrease. Clearly, Raw, the superior product right now, at least in television ratings. When you look at comparison from January to July. SmackDown way down, even though the show has gotten way better, in my opinion. And Raw is pretty much flat.
But, Damien, you also have to take into consideration on the My Network, it gets preempted quite a bit.
In different markets
point.
for sports teams and whatnot.
It's a good point. So it is moved around. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
ECW, January of 2009, had an average rating of 1.28. In July, had an average rating of 1.14 for a 10.9 rating.
ECW has moved time slots a few times already.
It switched around a couple times between, I believe the time was the same in January as it was in July, aside from 1 week. Let's remember there was that 1 week in July where it was on a Thursday.
They were an 8 o'clock show Central for a while and then went back to being a 9 p.m.
Started
Central.
at 9, went to 8, now back to 9 is what happened.
But here's the thing, though, also. A lot of people that have DVRs, it'll automatically change for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So either they stopped DVRing or TiVoing, or they just don't care anymore.
You want me to be completely honest?
11% decrease is substantial.
You want me to be completely honest? I DVR the wrestling shows, Raw, ECW, TNA Impact, Superstars, SmackDown.
Wow.
I DVR all of them. Do you want to know how much of that I really watch?
Well, I fast-forward almost all of mine.
Superstars, I stopped for Santino last week.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. ECW, because that Abraham Washington, oh boy,
that was 12 minutes of pure hell last Tuesday
I'm not
night.
getting it back.
I don't understand that at all.
12 minutes of pure hell. We want wrestling boring, where the chants
edited out.
Oh no, they didn't catch them. They were loud as day from what I watched. But that was painful. But ECW taking a bit of a hit.
Benjamin singing? Are you kidding me?
And awfully.
That's smurfed up, man.
That was smurfed up.
But you know what?
You and me.
Again,
we're talking about it.
Exactly. We're talking about it. We talked about it earlier in this show as well. That is, of course, noteworthy, apparently. And let's talk again before we take a brief time out. TNA Impact. When we come back, you're going to be surprised at the ratings change for TNA Impact from January to July of 2009. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
He's a man, such a man, he's a real man.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com and PWRShow.com. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and Dave Hero here live with you Monday night, August 10th, 2009. Before we took that time out, we were talking about television ratings, comparing shows to their own performance in July versus January of 2009. Now, the show that is next is TNA Impact. The average rating for TNA Impact in January of 2009 is a 1.13. The average rating for TNA Impact in July of 2009 is a 1.47, which is a 30% increase.
The product's improving. You know, no matter what the smarks, or whatever we're calling them on the Internet say, the product is improving.
Is it improving, or are people finding it now?
I think it's improving that people can find it.
30%, that's substantial. Now, the rating itself, and you're going to have people out there saying...
First time here, sir?
You're going to have people out there say, whether it be talking about Superstars or ECW or even TNA, that their rating is nothing compared to Raw. Well, again, we're not making that comparison, but they have a 30% increase in 7 months of viewership is pretty substantial. And it shows growth, which is what you need. Now let's go down the lineup again. WWE Superstars, a 16% decrease. Raw, a 3% increase. And ECW with an 11% decrease. TNA, 30%.
Any numbers on Superstars?
No, not comparatively so, because it just started in April. So
yeah,
not enough time really to get a trend there. But these numbers show the trends, 30%. Now, if you go back to October of 2008, when the Main Event Mafia launched, you're looking at about a 34% increase since the Mafia launched.
So they've done what they said they were going to do.
They've done what I said they were going to do. Remember, we sat in this very studio.
Oh, somebody's putting himself over.
No. I said the Main Event Mafia was smart because it puts all of their recognizable talent in one group and on TV at the same time, so flippers will stop and say, hey, I know all these guys. Whether you agree with it or not, I think it was a sound marketing strategy.
Except for the guy in the orange and black suit. They're like, who's that?
Wasn't he an announcer on something?
He looks just like the guy I saw in my SmackDown video game.
30%. Dave Hero, what do you attribute it to?
You know what? For me, I guess I have to say it is the Mafia, because they're on so much. You know, the casual clickers are going to stop and say, wow, hey, look, you know.
You know what the highest rated segments, though, consistently on Impact are? The knockout segments, which is why you usually see a knockouts match at the top of the hour. And what a tag match we saw last Thursday.
Wow. That was a great match.
Who doesn't stop when the knockouts are on?
Well, obviously, I won't DVR the program again, but, I mean, I stopped my fast-forward button when the knockouts wrestle. Did you hear me just say that? When they wrestle.
Meathead, 30% increase for TNA Impact. What do you attribute it to?
The girls wrestling.
Well, I don't know about 30%.
Not all 30%, but it's what's caught my attention. Then not in a perverted way, Dave. Stop looking at me like that. I'm not Jeff Jarrett. You're not Kurt Angle. Stop looking at me like that.
Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?
Let's go to the phones. We've got Martin from Ogilvie, Minnesota. Hopefully not near Rochester. I hope he wasn't one of those people stuck on a plane overnight. Martin, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey, guys. You guys are talking about the business of wrestling. Like, with any business, there are ups, there are downs. And right now, it's clearly that wrestling is sort of going down.
As a business.
Yeah. So, but what would have to happen, I'm talking WWE specifically, what would have to happen for them just to utterly collapse and become a company to a defunct company?
A couple more deaths in the ring.
Well, no. I mean, right now, Vince has way too much money. It'll never die.
Okay.
You know, for TNA, they've got to decide how much more money do they want to keep on losing. You know, 2 years ago, they lost over $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either company is going to collapse for quite a while, just because, you know, like Damian's saying, you know, Raw and TNA Impact, both of their shows' ratings have gone up significantly.
Remember that TNA and WWE now have TV shows, not wrestling shows. They're television productions.
And what's helping TNA also is that, with today's economy, people aren't going out as often as they used to anymore. So they're staying home and they're finding different things to watch.
Okay, but let's just say if a company, what would be like warning signs or red flags or something we should really be worried about in a company where it might be the beginning of the end for them, even if it's like a few years down the line?
Pinata on a pole.
Well, no, if TNA were to lose, let's say, Kurt Angle and maybe even a Mick Foley, those are pretty much, their two most recognizable faces that they have going right now. That would be a big hit because they haven't developed anybody else to take those spots. Much like the WWE, Damien and I talked about earlier, they just released Ricky Ortiz. How many of their younger developmental guys have they either sent back down or released because they haven't
done anything with them
yet?
No.
Damien?
Oh, what, I got to carry this whole thing? I just got handed information from our former intern, Harley. The numbers were wrong for TNA.
Failure.
The numbers were wrong. No, it was actually, for July 2009, it was a 1.23 for a 9% increase. Still the highest increase of all the wrestling shows.
But the question was posed to you by Dave Hero.
I wasn't paying attention because I was getting the new information from Harley.
Apparently. Go ahead again with your question.
I forgot what my question was now.
Sorry about that confusion. 1.23 the average rating in July compared to a 1.13 for TNA Impact, showing a 9% increase as opposed to the 30% that we mentioned before. Martin, your thoughts on Impact from last week featuring the riot, the brawl, broken up by the pose?
Well, certainly something I haven't seen. Something like that chaotic for a while. It was interesting. I was watching, I know that, and to see, seeing the police involvement really, even though and Triple H did something like that similar, but to see that, to show off how chaotic it's gotten, I think they pulled it off well.
All right.
It was believable for you.
Yeah, it actually was believable to me. I, watched it twice.
So you think that Bashir, was it Kiyoshi, Super Eric, the guys that have gotten beaten down by everybody over the last few months, would have a chance against Foley, Lashley, and Sting?
You know what? They're pissed off.
Well,
they're not wrestling. They're not wrestling anymore. They were fighting.
All right.
I'm hot, and I just told you about it.
I thought it was very well done. The whole brawl situation. They hyped it, which was smart. They had a very good promo for it. I thought it was executed perfectly. My fears going into it were they're going to take commercial during the middle of it. They did do that, but I think it actually added to the intrigue of the segment. And here's how smart they were, and here's how TNA has historically made mistakes. The next match was AJ Styles, Matt Morgan. They were not involved in the brawl.
Which was a good thing.
Yeah, very smart. Normally, we all know, historically, they would have been out there and then all of a sudden able to go into a match right away after that.
And
very
again,
well
Damien,
done,
you mentioned
very well
this to me
executed. I didn't think there were any flaws in that particular segment, and I did wonder why it didn't end the show, but then the Hernandez push, the clear Hernandez push coming in and breaking up the brawl at the end of the show was worth having that at the middle of the program.
Damien, you've mentioned this to me as well. Another amazing, funny part about the whole thing, Don West telling everyone, you know what? I think I'm going to get in there and go get me some.
Yeah, I'm going to take my headset off and go get me some. That was very well done. Very well done. And the fan feedback on the web was tremendous for that brawl. Some people say that they've never seen anything like it before. I think that's a stretch.
It's because they're also 10 to 15 years old.
It could be. I think that's a stretch.
Nothing against
them.
But
at the same time, I said last week that wrestling needs its edge. It needs to do things that are surprising and shocking, and I think TNA delivered that last week because it wasn't really expected, and it's not something we've seen in recent history from professional wrestling. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
For the latest interviews, blogs, contests, and more, log on today to the all-new ESPNMilwaukee.com.
We'll do it.
Get ready to fly.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and Dave Hero here with you live. Monday, August 10th, 2009.
Oh, yeah, it was right there.
I can listen to this theme song all night.
I had it on cue. It was at the tip of my tongue.
AJ Styles bringing us back from... we got to get him on the show again. It's been about a minute.
We owe him a nickel bag.
Clarify, please.
Every time we use the word phenomenal, ding, we are to pay AJ Styles 5 cents.
So much show and so little time. We said at the top of the program that we were going to talk about the new breed in professional wrestling. Who are the superstars of 2010? And also we're going to go in-depth on Jack Swagger. We're going to do that on PWR Primetime this week, so be sure to tune into that Friday at PWRshow.com and right after WWE SmackDown on Channel 14 here in southeastern Wisconsin. Two things to look forward to on the Pro Wrestling Report. Also, remember, you can check out PWR Express daily updates Monday through Friday at PWRshow.com, including Q&A on Thursdays, and also the latest breaking wrestling news and information as it happens daily from the Pro Wrestling Report. That's also available on iTunes. Subscribe for free to the Pro Wrestling Report on ESPN Radio on iTunes. You can click the link at PWRshow.com to be taken right to the subscription in iTunes. By the way, this is the #1 pro wrestling show on iTunes.
We had more breaking news tonight. Kevin Nash confirmed it. Last week, Ken Anderson. This week, Kevin Nash.
It just keeps coming.
You know what? Next week we may have to get the Sheiky on here, and we can ask him all about B. Brian Blair.
We'll preview.
We don't antagonize him.
And I don't think Dragon can get to the button fast enough and as many times enough.
And there's only so many times that you can actually dump before you're live. Dragon, thank you.
TNA Hard Justice preview also on prime time this week. So this week in history, a couple of big significant things happened over the last few years on August 9th and 10th. Hulk Hogan defeated Andre the Giant for the WCW Championship in 1996. Lex Luger defeated Bret.
Hulk Hogan defeated who?
The Giant.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard Andre the Giant,
I
too.
I was a little
He said it, but it's okay.
Lex Luger defeated Bret Hart for the United States Championship in 1998. And Savio Vega was born in 1962, and Ric Flair
recently fired Savio Vega.
Ric Flair defeats Dusty Rhodes for the NWA Championship in 1986.
But I think you really passed over.
BI3, ladies and gentlemen.
No, stop. I think you really passed over a very important piece of
that we have
history.
A minute left in the show?
A very, very important piece of history. Exactly 10 years ago, on August 9th, 1999, the Ayatollah of Rock and Roll made his debut in the WWF.
He did. It doesn't matter what your name is. August 9, 1999, at that dump, the Allstate Arena, just outside Chicago, Illinois.
You were there.
Yeah. VI3. Each week, the top 3 names in professional wrestling. We pick one singles talent, we pick one tag team talent, and we pick one broad
chick.
We'll start with David Hero. Dave, your 3 top talents in the wrestling business as you see it this week.
The new #1 contender for the ladies' title, Gail Kim. My tag team is Techno Team 2000. And you know what? Sure. The World Heavyweight Champion.
I'm the champ!
Damian Nelson.
I'm carrying this belt around with me everywhere I go.
Gimmick infringement. Anyway, my VI3.
Who's gimmick?
Bye. My VI3.
What belt do you have? Don't you dare sit there and look at your wrist and watch and talk about me interrupting you. Because you know what? We do this show live, and you sit there and you ramble all night long.
You know what?
We'll do it live. No.
We'll do it live.
No,
Here we
won't.
go. Single. Hernandez.
Do this to play us out.
Tag team. Tag team. Motor City Machine Guns. And my broad, Mickey James.
The definitive VI3, ladies and gentlemen, the one all of you tuned in to listen to tonight. #1 top spot for me goes to Matt Morgan. I think he's going to go all the way. I haven't read the spoilers for Impact this week yet, but we know that he's got the third match, the rubber match, if you will, with AJ Styles for the determination of who's going to be in that 3-way dance for the championship at Hard Justice this Sunday. Gail Kim, Dave Hero, I concur.
Asian Zing.
She is not.
Didn't it give you a stomach ache tonight?
That's another
backstage, spicy garlic.
Backstage info about PWR. The Asian Zing is what drives us. And my tag team spot goes to Chris Jericho and
The Jericho Show?
It's the big show. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to our guest Kevin Nash for joining us tonight, talking about his valet search and his take on the TNA Backstage controversy.
And I want to thank everyone for making the Kenny Anderson interview one of the most listened to, downloaded.
It's already in our top 10 from PWR
in
show.
The world last week.
He said a lot, and he regrets none of it.
None of it.
Yep.
And that's important.
Said a lot, and a lot of people, as you alluded to earlier in the show, Dave Hero, a lot of people have heard that, and a lot of people have had a lot of questions about that. You can still catch that on iTunes or on PWRshow.com. Spread the word about it. One of the most insightful interviews that has ever been conducted in professional wrestling, and you put that on top of the Al Snow interview where he had a lot to say about the business as well. This is the place to hear the stars talk candidly about the show. Again, this week on PWR Primetime, the new breed in wrestling. We've got in-depth on Jack Swagger, a preview of TNA Hard Justice, and more. For the man they call me, Dave Hero on the cause, this is Damian Nelson. Thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.